Okay, so I started coding right from my first semester itself. I wasn't like a people are like I've been coding since I was at the age of 13 or things like that. So nothing like that happened with me. I
Yeah.
started in my first semester, and when my first semester got over, I knew like basics like Java and Python. Nothing high tech in development or anything like that. So what I lacked was the real world experience. So I was like, okay, I'm using Java. I really like Java, but I haven't really made anything with Java. I know DSL Go, but how am I going to showcase that to other people? So I was like, okay, I need some real world experience, and that's when the community came in, because I was attending a lot of events. I started open source in my freshman year itself because I wanted real world experience. So it's like, don't get stuck in a learning loop. Okay, some people are like, let me just first learn and then I'll apply it. Let me first learn and then I'll apply it.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck in a learning loop. Even if you know like 20 or even 30% of the tech stack that has been mentioned in the project or any open source organization, so go out there, feel free to get your hands dirty, explore, build things, meet people. That's
Yeah.
how that has been my journey so far, in short.
Awesome, bro.
Formally for GSOC, I think I started in January 2020.
Okay.
I think this in our we have our winter holidays, right?
Mhm.
In December. So that's when I started looking for organizations specific to GSOC. Before that, I had done basic contributions in open source, not anything too good.
So you
But
previously already
I
knew
had
about Git and GitHub and how to
yeah,
contribute
yeah.
and all.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So by December, I had done some basic contributions on GitHub, and I knew how Git worked, and I knew the whole workflow. But
Mhm.
I didn't do any really meaningful contributions in terms of GSOC. So that's when in around December, I started shortlisting my organizations based on my tech stack. So my tech stack was mainly Python, backend, REST APIs. So I shortlisted in any of those where I found it seemed interesting to me, and I went with that.
So I started in, I could say probably in December. I started looking in December itself before the organizations were released. I started looking at them and
Okay.
filtering out which organization has a better probability to get selected into GSOC. And
Yeah.
so I selected two to three of them and I started browsing their projects.
Yeah.
And I made a Google sheet and put the organizations according to the priority. And this was around December to January,
Okay.
around that time.
There are some huge changes to the way Google Summer of Code or GSOC will be conducted into 2021 and going forward into the next years. The duration of this program will now be reduced to only 10 weeks. Everything is being cut in half, and because of that, as a result of that, the stipend that you achieve, the stipend that you used to get previously was about 3,000 USD. And even before than that, at about like 2016, 2017, you used to get about 5,500 USD. Right now it's about 3,000 USD. And in 2021, it will be halved. It will be about 1,500 USD, because Google wants to get a lot more people into open source community. Okay, they want more and more people to join, and because of that, the intake of this program of Google Summer of Code will actually increase a lot.
The first one is obviously engage with the community. You are going to get stuck if you are such a newbie. So who is going to help you if you get stuck? Well, the community members are going to help you. The people who created that project are going to help you. So I was like, hey, I'm really interested in this project, but I don't know shit about Kubernetes and Docker. Can you point me in the right direction? And they were like, okay, first learn Docker, Dockerize your own personal projects, then learn about K8s, things like that. So that's when I started, and you can also, a good way to start is improving their documentation, writing blogs for them, because
the first
any
commits,
open
right?
source, so any open source organization, one thing that they cannot get enough of is documentation. So documentation is always welcomed, and it's also a really good way to start, in your journey into an organization. So then that comes your solving beginner friendly issues. Now this can be anything. For me, it was adding spaces between if statements.
So everybody knows what they're good at there, and it can be anything. It's not like GSOCs if you need to do only web development or Android development, there are a lot of things in the embedded side also. So whatever you're good at, be sure of that. Then how I would tell you to proceed, or how I went about it, was people basically tell two things basically, that either you be really good, like the organization lies under your tech stack, so you're able to solve that, or people also tell ki that there have been many people who have done GSOC by not knowing the initial tech stack, but they really like the work of the organization and the project, and they learned it on the way. So it's kind of a trade-off you'll have to find between both of them, because GSOC is about that. You'll keep learning on the go. That's there. But how I would tell you to go about it is, once you have finalized your tech stack, go and see the GSOC archives. There you can see all the organizations which are there, which have previously participated in GSOC. And for each organization, you can see their the tech stack which they're using.
I was going to give proposal for two projects. One was in
Okay.
CC Extractor. That was a Raspberry Pi based honeypot. So I love to play around with Raspberry Pis and all. And it was a project that involved creating a Flask application, Flask based application on a Raspberry Pi. And it was pretty interesting. So I love that project. It was a security related project, like information security related. And so that was one project I contributed to. And the other project, this is, I didn't know about blockchain before that. I had a vague idea, but I hadn't developed anything for blockchain. So I just cold emailed one of the mentors, and he gave me some pointers to get started, and I did all those steps after the organization was selected. And so now when the proposal date got close, so my project, the project that I got selected into, it involved creating a scientific journal using blockchain to have a high degree of trust and to make it decentralized. So before giving the proposal, I read a lot. I mean, I read every blog I could on scientific journals, their problems, then what additions could be made about how Hyperledger works. Then I just broke them down into various parts on how I would implement this thing. And, I made the broad categories, and then I started filling them up with the help of mentor, of course. I kept asking for feedback regularly.
You can write a max of 3 proposals. Okay. But the thing is, I wrote only one, and mine was selected. But I would recommend you to write at max 2 proposals. Why? I'll just tell, because the thing is, even if you have a very good proposal, okay, like you have like written really good proposal and everything seems right, but at the end, contributions, your prior contributions matter more than the proposal. That's it's not like a 50-50 thing. It's like, I think contributions will matter around 80% or 70%. So and again, you have limited amount of time, okay, so to contribute to organizations. So it's like a strategy. Like if you think you can like, it's a trade-off basically. The thing is, if you how I thought about it was, I'll just stick to one organization that I found the code base, I really understand this, and if I get and I knew if I give some more time, I'll be able to do some good meaningful contributions. So I should be good at this organization. But then again, if you divide your time between 2 organizations, you will have to be good at both of their code base. You'll have to have decent contributions in both, and then your proposal has a chance of getting accepted. So the thing is, you can try doing 2 proposals or even 3 proposals, but the chance of getting selected really depends on the prior contributions you have had with the organization.
People only tell you that you can't do something when they can't do it. So just opinions are okay. I mean, everyone has their different opinion, but what's also true is that every person has their own learning abilities and interests and things like that. So if something is not working for you, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work for someone else. So talking about your question about doing these GSOC and all these things in your first year, well, I would say it's good to start early. So it's not like, because whom are they going to select? Are they going to select someone who just came like a week before the applications, or someone who is contributing to the project from the past 2 to 3 months? So obviously the person who has been contributing for a really long time.
What do you think? Is it possible for a first year student to crack GSOC who doesn't have much experience in coding, and he just started his coding while in college?
See, it's not, I don't think so. Like which year you are in really defines how good you are at the tech stack, right? You could have been doing it from like before you join college. Like we generalize mostly because everybody starts in the first year. So if you're starting from the first year, it's going to be tough. Okay, because you need to be at some level of development to understand how things work in open source. Like there are some things like Git, GitHub, PRs, all that things you don't really learn when you're learning a framework or a tech stack. That time you're just focused on getting that website up and running, something like that. So it's possible, obviously, for anybody if they're but usually it's really tough in the first year.
All right, and then once you got selected, what was that feeling like?
That feeling is awesome. Apart from GPL, everything was good. Yeah, so I worked really hard, and as far as I remember, there were some examinations going on. I think we were in mid of I don't know, maybe we were in mid of comprehensive examination or something, and that is when the results were out.
One tip that I can give to the viewers, if you definitely want to get selected, so this is sort of like a tip. Choose a difficult project. Okay. So this is a tip. If you definitely want to do Google Summer of Code or other things, so choose a difficult project, because the more number of applications that there are at a particular project, obviously your chances are going to get reduced, because there are more people fighting for that particular position. And obviously in that particular case, whoever has the best contributions, best engagement with the community, things like that, so that those students are going to get selected. But if we're talking about just about GSOC, if you definitely want to increase your chances and select a project that is really tough. By difficult, I don't mean necessarily that the project is difficult to understand or work with. It's just that something that many students feel like it's overwhelming at first, like Kubernetes and things like that. I also felt that it was overwhelming, but when I actually learned about it, I was like, okay, I can do this, and I actually did that. I made pull requests, merged the pull requests, other things. So it doesn't really matter that it's going to be I'm not saying that it's not going to be challenging. What I am saying is that it's a good thing, because over there you have a learning opportunity. So you're working on a project that you don't know much about. So that is a learning opportunity for you, and those people are welcomed in the community. The people who are there from a learning point of view. If you just showcase that, okay, I want to learn, I want to contribute to this project, to the community members by solving easy issues, attending their meetups, asking questions, being active in the community. So they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this person is over here to learn, and the chances do increase in getting selected for Google Summer of Code, because that is what the mentors look into, rather than if you're just coding in isolation, working by yourself.
So yeah, everyone, that was the episode. I hope you enjoyed. I just combined all of the 3 videos that I've done with previous GSOCers, so you can look at the complete interviews. They will be linked in the description. I would highly recommend all of you to look at the complete interviews if you are really interested about getting selected in GSOC. So yeah, I hope you like this. Make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow me on Instagram at Ishan Sharma 7390, and also comment and let me know what are your plans for GSOC, what organization you want to apply for, and what all other type of content do you want me to make. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye bye.